What do you do when your own daughter stands up at New Year's dinner, lifts her glass, and erases you from her life with one sentence? I learned the answer the night Elena looked straight at me, her own mother, and said, "You are no longer part of my life." The room fell silent so fast it felt like sound itself had cracked. Forks froze halfway to mouths. Someone's chair creaked sharply. I kept my hands folded in my lap, steady, even though I felt my heartbeat shift in my chest. Elena stood at the head of the table, wearing the navy silk dress Daniel had bought her for Christmas. She looked composed, confident, like a woman performing a speech she had rehearsed for weeks. She tilted her chin up. From this moment forward, I need distance. I need boundaries, and I need to live without your interference. Daniel didn't say a word. He just placed a hand on her arm lightly, as if reminding her to stay poised. His parents exchanged a quick glance across the table. No one dared breathe. I cleared my throat. "Is that truly what you want, Elena?" She didn't hesitate. "I'm done. Mother, this is goodbye." For a moment, the air around me tightened. I stared at the daughter I had raised entirely alone after my husband died in the Willamette River more than 3 decades ago. I remembered the nights she slept curled on my chest, the scraped knees, the whispered promises. All of it vanished from her eyes as if none of it had ever mattered. I reached slowly into my handbag. "All right," I said. "If tonight is goodbye, then I have something for you." A ripple of confusion moved around the table as I placed a gold envelope in front of her. Her name, Elena Lowell, was written in my careful handwriting. "What is this?" she asked, her voice sharp. "My last gift to you." Her jaw tightened as if she expected a plea for forgiveness, a bargain, a desperate attempt to hold on. Instead, I folded my napkin, smoothing the corners, and leaned back in my chair. "Open it," I said. She tore the seal with an impatient sweep of her thumb. Daniel shifted closer to see. For a second, she only skimmed the top page. Then her eyes widened. Her hand trembled. She flipped to the second page. Then the third, faster, almost frantic. A strangled noise escaped her, half gasp, half scream. "Hester," Daniel whispered. "What did you do?" I kept my gaze steady on the daughter who had just disowned me. What could make a daughter scream at her own mother's final gift? How does a bond once unbreakable begin to slip through your fingers? I used to believe nothing could come between Elena and me. For years, it was just the two of us, moving through life like a matching pair, mother and daughter against the world. I still remember the night the police came to the door, their voices low and careful as they told me my husband had drowned in the Willamette River. Elena was only 6. She pressed her face into my stomach and whispered, "It's just us now, Mommy." I stroked her hair and promised her we would be all right. And for a long time we were. Elena grew into a bright, fierce girl who clung to me during storms and crawled into my bed after nightmares. She'd sit on the kitchen counter while I made dinner and chatter about school, friends, dreams. When I get older, she'd say, "You're living with me. I'll take care of you just like you take care of me." But small cracks began to show as she reached her teenage years. One day, after school, she dropped her backpack and said, "Do you have to wear clothes like that when you pick me up?" I laughed, thinking she was joking. Like what? She looked away, just different from the other moms. Another time, at a parent-teacher conference, she walked ahead of me, her shoulders stiff. When I caught up, she muttered, "I wish you'd let me handle things. You talk too much when you're nervous." It stung, but I let it pass. Children grow, they change. I told myself it was normal, yet the distance didn't fade. It multiplied quietly, steadily, like a shadow growing longer each year. When did she first start pulling away from me? What happens when a new love quietly replaces an old one? I saw it happening long before Elena ever admitted it. She brought Daniel home for dinner on a rainy Thursday evening. He shook my hand politely, but his eyes flicked over my living room like he was cataloging flaws. Elena noticed. She straightened a picture frame on the wall and said, "It's just an older house, Daniel. Mom likes things. Vintage." "Of course," he replied, smiling thinly. "It has charm." During dinner, he asked Elena about her work, her goals, her plans. When I chimed in with a memory about her childhood art projects, he nodded but redirected the conversation immediately, as if my stories were inconvenient detours. Elena barely looked at me. After he left, I washed the dishes while she dried. "He seems confident," I said carefully. "He's accomplished." "Mom," she answered. "He's worked hard to get where he is." I heard the implication. Sharp and clean, unlike us. The shift came slowly after that. Elena changed her wardrobe, her voice, her way of standing. She corrected me softly in front of him. She explained my jokes as though they needed translation. She winced when I mispronounced a dish he liked. When he proposed, she called me the next morning. "Daniel's parents are hosting an engagement dinner next week," she said. "It'll be small. Do you need help getting ready?" There was a pause. "It's family only." I stood in my kitchen, gripping the edge of the counter. "I am family." "I know," she whispered, then quickly changed her tone. "Mom, don't make this harder. Daniel's parents have expectations. Their circles are different." Different, meaning higher, meaning cleaner, meaning not me. That night, I sat alone at my table, staring at the empty chair across from me where she used to do her homework. Why did my daughter start choosing silence over honesty? When does distance turn into humiliation? For me, it happened in Daniel's house long before Elena ever said it aloud. One afternoon, she invited me over to catch up. I brought a small tin of lemon cookies, the kind she used to beg for when she was little. As soon as she opened the door, her eyes darted to the tin. "Mom," she whispered, "Daniel's parents might drop by. Could you not bring things like that next time? They're very particular about food." I held the tin against my chest. "It's just cookies." "I know. It's just, their standards are different." Inside, Daniel greeted me politely but walked past without shaking my hand. Elena flinched when I asked how wedding planning was going. "Mom, use the word ceremony," she corrected quietly. "Wedding sounds casual." "I see," I murmured. During the visit, every attempt I made to connect shifted into something strained. When I reached for her hand on the couch, she pulled away as if expecting someone to walk in. When I laughed at a story, she said, "Lower your voice. The walls carry sound." I sat there, shrinking by the minute. But the deepest cut came when I stepped into the hallway to refresh my water. Their voices floated from the kitchen, soft but not soft enough. Daniel said, "You should tell her not to visit unannounced." "I will." Elena sounded tired. "She's just not someone I want people to see right now." My hand trembled around the glass. I stood frozen until I heard them move. When I re-entered the room, Elena smiled too brightly. "Mom, maybe we can plan a girls' day soon." I nodded, though I already knew that day would never come. What do you do when the child you raised becomes a stranger? What if the future your child imagines for you is one she never intended you to hear? I learned mine by accident standing in the hallway of Elena's house, holding a scarf she had left in my car. I had stopped by after calling twice with no answer. I assumed she was in the shower. The front door was unlocked. I stepped inside, ready to leave the scarf on the entry table, when I heard voices deeper in the house. Daniel said, "We should finalize everything before New Year's. The sooner she's settled, the smoother this will go." My hand froze on the scarf. Elena's voice followed. "I know, I do not want a scene." Mom gets emotional. "If we present the paperwork calmly, she'll accept it." Daniel hummed. "The facility has a spot ready. They want confirmation next week. It's a good place, Elena. Your mother will be safe there. She will be controlled there, Elena whispered back. And that helps both of us. My chest tightened. I edged closer. Silent. Daniel continued. Once she signs over financial management, everything becomes easier. We can manage her expenses, close unnecessary accounts, redirect her assets. Elena's voice cracked. She will never sign if she knows what the documents are. That is why you keep it simple. You tell her it's about emergency planning, elder care, something responsible. She trusts you. A long pause. Then Elena said, quieter still, Daniel, I do not want my mother interfering with our life. She is unpredictable. She does not fit with the people we know. This is the best option. He exhaled. After New Year's dinner, we present everything. She signs. And this is done. I felt my knees weaken, the scarf slipping from my hands. Elena added, by spring, she could be fully settled, and we can finally focus on our own future. Footsteps shifted. I forced myself back toward the front door, swallowing the burn rising in my throat. I slipped outside before they saw me, heart pounding as if I had run miles. How do you fight a battle you were never supposed to know about? What if betrayal is written in your own forged signature? I learned that lesson on a quiet Tuesday morning, when my phone rang and the bank manager asked me to come in as soon as possible. I sat across from him in his small office, my palms cold against my knees. Mrs. Lowell, he said gently, we need to verify a few recent requests connected to your accounts. Requests I asked, I have not made any. He slid a stack of papers toward me, forms for consolidating accounts, transferring automatic payments, and granting partial management rights to another person. At the bottom of each form was my signature, except it was not. I leaned forward. The loops were too neat, the tilt too practiced. My real signature shook slightly, the way it had since the winter my husband died. This one was smooth. This is not mine, I said. I did not sign these. He hesitated. Then someone else did. The name listed under secondary management is Elena Lowell. My breath caught. My daughter submitted this. He nodded, lowering his voice. She said you wanted help organizing your finances for long-term care. A bitter taste rose in my mouth, and you accepted that without speaking to me. We tried. He said, twice. No answer. She insisted you were overwhelmed and authorized her to handle preliminary paperwork. I pressed my fingers to my temples. She lied. The manager cleared his throat. We froze the changes until you could confirm. But you should know your daughter has already inquired about transferring one of your accounts into a joint fund. A substantial one. I straightened slowly. How substantial? Nearly $200,000. The office blurred for a moment. My own daughter, carving into my life with forged ink. When I finally stood to leave, the manager added, we will keep all documents on file if you choose to take action, outside. The cold air hit my face and steadied me. Betrayal still stung, but a different feeling stirred beneath it, a quiet, rising resolve. Elena had crossed a line she could never uncross. How far was she willing to go to cut me out? How do you protect yourself when the danger carries your last name? I found my answer sitting across from a gray-haired attorney named Miriam Gable, a woman with sharp eyes and a sharper memory. She adjusted her glasses. Mrs. Lowell, what you brought me. This is serious. Forgery, attempted financial control, intentional misrepresentation. You need to secure everything immediately. I placed the forged documents on her desk. She is my daughter. Miriam, she is also someone who tried to seize nearly $200,000 from you. Miriam tapped the papers. We handle facts here, not sentiment. The words stung, but I nodded. We spent the next hour revoking every outdated authorization Elena might try to use. Power of attorney canceled, emergency access forms rewritten, secondary account rights eliminated. Each signature I placed felt like stitching a wound closed from the inside. Now, Miriam said, drawing out a fresh folder, you need documentation. Every message, every conversation. Anything that shows a pattern. I pulled out my phone. I have recordings, voicemails, screenshots. She gave a single approving nod. Good. Put it all together, organize it, and keep a printed copy somewhere safe. That night, I sat at my kitchen table arranging everything into a gold envelope, the same one I later placed in front of Elena. I slid in the forged forms. The bank's confirmation letter. The transcript of her voicemail where she said, she will sign anything if she thinks it is for my future. By the time I sealed it, my hands had stopped shaking. A soft chime rang from my phone. A new message from Elena. After New Year's. Everything changes. Be ready. I stared at the screen, the words cold against the dim light of my kitchen. What exactly did she plan to change? What if the night they tried to end you becomes the night you rise instead? That thought held me steady as I stepped into Elena's house on New Year's Eve, carrying nothing but my coat and the gold envelope tucked inside it. Elena greeted me with a tight smile. Mom, you made it. Good. We can start soon. Daniel hovered behind her, expression unreadable. His parents sat at the table, already pouring wine. No one asked how I was doing. No one invited me to sit. Elena cleared her throat. Everyone. Before we eat, I have something to say. I felt the shift immediately. Daniel straightening, his mother folding her hands neatly, Elena moving to the head of the table like a performer stepping into her spotlight. She lifted her glass. I need to make a change in my life. A firm one. And it begins tonight. I kept my eyes on her. She continued. From this moment forward, I am choosing boundaries. I am choosing peace. And I am choosing to move on without interference. She met my gaze. Mother, you are no longer part of my life. A stunned silence fell. Daniel looked at the table. His father stared at his hands. No one defended me. No one questioned her. I reached slowly into my coat pocket. All right, I said. My voice did not shake. If this is your choice, Elena, then I have something for you. A murmur rippled around the table as I placed the gold envelope in front of her. She frowned. What is this, my last gift to you? She hesitated, glancing at Daniel. He nodded once. Elena slid a finger under the seal and opened the envelope. The first page made her eyes narrow. The second made her breath catch. By the third, her face drained of color. A soft, strangled sound escaped her, raw and sharp enough to freeze the room. Daniel leaned forward. Elena, what is it? Her hands shook as she flipped another page. What truth inside that envelope could collapse her perfect world? What truth can turn a daughter's voice into a scream? Elena found the answer in the pages she pulled from the gold envelope, pages she never expected anyone else to see. Least of all, me. She stared at the first sheet, her lips parting. Where did you get this? Her voice was thin, almost breathless. Daniel reached for the paper. Let me see. But Elena jerked it away, panic rising in her eyes. I kept my hands in my lap. Keep reading. She flipped to the second page. It was a row of screenshots, her messages to Daniel. She will sign anything if I frame it as responsible planning. Once I have power of attorney, we can move quickly. Do not worry, she is alone. She needs us. Daniel's mother inhaled sharply. His father muttered, Good Lord. Elena whispered, This is private. You went through my phone. No, I said. These were backed up to your cloud account. You forgot you shared access years ago. She froze, horror dawning slowly. The third sheet slid from her fingers onto the table. My forged signature stared back at her clean, smooth strokes she could no longer deny. Daniel caught the page. "Elena, is this your handwriting?" She didn't answer. She couldn't. Her throat worked, but no sound came out. I leaned forward slightly. The bank confirmed the forgery. They also documented your request to transfer nearly $200,000 into a joint fund with Daniel. Daniel jerked his hand back as if burned. "You did what?" It was not. Elena's voice broke. "It was supposed to help us. I just needed control. She never listens." I placed another sheet on the table. "A notarized revocation. You now have no legal access to any part of my life," Daniel's mother whispered. She tried to steal from her own mother, but the final blow was the handwritten letter. My letter. Elena read only the first line before her knees buckled into her chair. "You cut me out long before tonight. I am simply accepting it." Her scream came then not loud, but sharp. A raw sound pulled from somewhere deep and terrified. Daniel stepped back from her. His parents looked at her like they were seeing her for the first time. The perfect daughter. The polished wife shattered in the span of a few pages. What happens when a woman's lies finally outrun the life she built on them? What does freedom look like when it is the price of your own heartbreak? For me, it began the morning after that New Year's dinner, when the fallout from Elena's lies hit faster than the sunrise over the river. My phone buzzed non-stop calls I did not answer. By noon, Daniel's mother left a voicemail, her voice tight. "Mrs. Lowell, we had no idea. Daniel has suspended all shared accounts until we understand the full extent of what Elena attempted." Another message came from Elena's workplace. "Mrs. Lowell, we are reaching out regarding a formal review. Several documents submitted by your daughter have raised concerns. The world she built, polished, curated, spotless, was cracking at every edge." When Elena finally called me, her voice was hoarse. "Mom, please, please talk to me. I can fix this." "I just need you to tell them you misunderstood." "I did not misunderstand," I said calmly. "You meant every word you wrote, every signature you forged." She sniffed hard. "I made one mistake." "You made many," I replied. "And they were deliberate." There was a long silence before she whispered, "I never thought you'd turn on me." "I did not turn on you. Elena, I stopped allowing you to turn on me." I ended the call gently. No yelling, no final blow, just a boundary she could no longer pretend did not exist. 2 weeks later, I signed the lease to a small riverfront apartment, quiet, warm, and entirely mine. Miriam, my attorney, handed me the finalized protection documents. "You are safe now. Hester, she cannot access anything. Not legally, not financially." I nodded. "Thank you for everything." That evening, I stood in my new living room, surrounded by unopened boxes and the soft hum of the heater. For the first time in years, I breathed without waiting for disappointment to follow. If you have been following this story, remember to like, comment, or subscribe. Your support keeps every voice here alive. I looked out at the dark river, the water moving steady and sure, and I felt something shift inside me, quiet, but undeniable. That night, I did not lose a daughter. I lost the person who stopped being 1 year ago, and for the first time in decades, I finally walked into a year that belonged to me. When you reclaim your life at 67, what future becomes possible again?